my first new jobs, I thought about, like, I was showing my my lovely teen Eamon my resume, and I most of the main thing that I was looking at was like, just look at, like, a lot of people overcomplicate them, and like they're, you don't need as much as you think you'd need. Not as much. It can seem a little dauntless sometimes if you've not put one together, or what do you say? And I just wanted to offer some short tips for anybody that may be looking at it, especially if you're in a position like me where you're in homelessness or coming out of homelessness or trying to avoid homelessness. It can be a really useful skill in this day and age, especially if you're spreading out to smaller towns and stuff, to know how to do a short cover letter and resume. So I'm just going to use my own as an example. And I want to say at first, this has now been in my bag for one day. Look at it. It's got a crease in it and stuff like that. Don't turn in your resume that way. Not unless it's like a personal connection and you really know that they don't care. And even if you know that, you should do it anyway. So I took these when they were hot off the presses. I printed out at least 10 of them, knowing that I would have some extras left over. I had some places that already wanted my resume, and then I had some other places I was going to try out anyway. So when I had these hot off the presses, now I've got it very simple here. I'll just show it to you. Like, take a screenshot of it or stop and slow it down. A cover letter, most places, unless you're looking for a very, very specific job, most places want a summary of your resume on there that's like, what's in it for me, right? I've got on mine 25 plus years of food service, banquet, cash handling, management, customer service experience. I just talked to a hiring manager about, you know what, I've been doing volunteer food service stuff since I was a kid. Like, I'm talking like 4 or 5 years old. So like, I've been in it a long time, and a lot of my jobs have been food service industry. It's not rocket science, but it's not, I mean, there's a lot of people who do have challenges with it. So it's important if you do have experience to do that. And then I threw on there like 2 years experience, 2+ years of experience, private party, private event bartender, server, barback, dishwasher, things like that. My availability, morning, noon, and night. You know what I mean? I'm available. And then a summary of, like, I'm able to do multitasking, I'm able to prep, I'm able to keep my space clean, do things like that. I've got my food handler certification. I'm working on my MAST. I put my phone number, that I'm confident I'll be a good member of the team. I don't use too much fluff words, but I do make sure that I'm writing it in a positive way and positive present tense, right? This is my resume. I'm not going to flash it for too long, but you can stop and get on there. What I want to point out, though, I've got my work history here, and then over here in the smaller print, I've got my skills, and then I've got projects that I've worked on. Now, when I first started learning how to write a resume, guess what? I was 14 years old. I guess I wanted to work, and I found out that in the state you can work at that age, so I wanted to work. And I did not have like a whole ton of job experience. I started my first business in 3rd grade, and that was useful. That was a transferable skill. I could put that on my resume when I was 14 and 15. And then I could also put on there things that I volunteered in, which is something that I recommend both as, if for you as an adult, but also if you're helping a teenager learn how to put their application together, their resume together, look for applicable skills. If you're newer at the job, or even if, like, say you're a single mom or single dad who's been out of the workforce for a bit, or maybe you went through some mental health challenges or homelessness or even addiction challenges, use your transferable skills. This is something they talk about a lot in resume writing videos and things like that. If you were a housewife or a house husband and you did all the cooking and the cleaning and the organizing of things, and you kept track of your partner's pants and keys and all that stuff, guess what? Those are valuable workplace experiences. Now, most places, you're not going to walk up and be like, oh, well, I managed a household. And a lot of places aren't going to be like, oh, yes, I completely understand how valuable that is. But you can put in your resume, like, how many years did you do that? Did you spend 20 years raising kids? Well, guess what? You got 20 years of management experience. It's not necessarily the same high-speed, fast-paced thing, and you need to be honest about that. But you do still have those skills. I mean, if your children survived, they're decent people, you survived, you're ready to get into the workforce. You did do that. That's a lot of work right there, right? And then as a teen or somebody who's doing like a first-time job, like, what have you done in the community? What are things that you regularly do? What are your skills? What are you good at? Like, don't ever look at a job and be like, I can't do that. Like if you feel called to a job, think about what skills do I have that could get me in the door and help me learn more, where I'm being honest, I'm being honorable. Don't lie. I know so many people that lie and get into jobs, and you know what? One, you're taking that job from somebody who genuinely wants it, genuinely has skills for it, and two, you're really messing things up for the people that work there. Like if you BS your way into a job and you want that job and you work that job and you learn that job, okay, whatever. It's not my favorite. My Venus is in Cappy. I prefer being honest over all things, but if you get in there and you were just getting the job, either just to get any job, be a breathing body, you didn't have an actual intention to learn it, to work it, to master it, you're messing things up for the other people in that business. You're creating more problems for the management, which means the management cannot be available staff who do want to be there and do want to make their money and do want to make the customers happy. And guess what? That can piss off the customers too. It backs all sorts of things up. And then people who do need jobs, who are like looking for them and looking for their stability, have a harder time getting those jobs. So please do not bullshit your way into a job that you do not want. And yes, like you might need it, but if you really need it, then you should also want it. You're not going to keep a job that you need but don't want. It's common psychology, right? So make sure the jobs that you're putting in for are jobs that you could go into and say, you know what, I like working here. And if you don't like any work, or you've got a mindset that's like, oh, well, work's just a thing that we have to do, get rid of that mindset. That's old and outdated and ain't going to help nobody. You're just going to go through cycles of getting jobs and quitting jobs and stuff like that. Don't do that. Don't do it to yourself. Don't do it to other people. Get jobs that you could be comfortable at. I'm not talking it has to be some fancy CEO lawyer job. If you don't mind making pizza, you feel like you'd have a good time with staff workers, go work pizza. If you don't mind selling shoes, go sell shoes. Just make sure it's something that you can come to work at and say, you know what, I like this work. It's that simple, right? And that's the kind of attitude too that people look for when they are looking for someone to hire. A lot of places right now kind of like all over, they're kind of taking a pick of who they have versus what they have a budget for. But if given the choice between like somebody uber experienced who's a complete asshole versus somebody who's got some reasonable experience and they want the job and they are pleasant about it, who do you think's going to get that job? In most cases, it's not the uber experienced person, not unless you're in a big metro area and you're talking about like just like digital resumes. And in that case, those people don't tend to stick around very long. Once they get in there, like, wait a minute, we thought you were super experienced, which also meant you could be personable. They find out that's not true. Experience ain't everything. But just the same thing as personability is not everything. You have to have a balance of both. And so that's what I look to show in my resume. Now on the other side too, I have listed a little bit of other jobs, and then I included my education, and then my references, right? And I'm not gonna flash those on there too much because those are other people's information. But the main thing is you want to show that you've got experience, that you understand what the job is, that you're not overwhelming your resume with, like, if you have a lot of jobs behind you, don't, put the ones that you want to highlight. I put my management experience, I put my business experience, and oftentimes I will usually cultivate my resume for the job that I'm applying for. But when you end up in a situation where it's like, you don't want any job, like I said, don't be just a breathing body. I can tell you as a manager that is so annoying. And a lot of places, especially metro areas and big chains like Jack in the Box and McDonald's and stuff like that, a lot of times they just hire breathing bodies. They don't even care. They can afford the rollover. They've got, they can call staff in from other stores and stuff. Well, sometimes we had problems with that when I was working there, but they don't train people typically to be a master at their work. They have, like, the employees are trained in a production manner in the similar way the food is made. So if you're doing that, then, like, if that's the kind of job that you want, then go get those jobs. I'm not judging on that one, but you really want work. You want something that can make you feel good, can pay the bills, and that does not, like, completely wear you out. It starts with your mindset, and your resume should reflect that. What is your mindset? If your resume looks really scattered, you're gonna look really scattered. If your resume is like overdone, it's gonna look like you're trying too hard. If it's underdone, or there's not, like, in my resume, I tend to be an over talker a lot, but like up here, my very top one, right? That shows my business, and then instead of doing like, all the different entrepreneurial stuff that I've done, I made it concise. I've got experience writing articles, blogging, event planning, doing DoorDash stuff, like gardening, construction, admin, and I just keep it short and sweet. Like, they can talk to me for details. And a lot of places will. A lot of places have. A lot of the call, oh wait, you have this specific experience. We really like that experience. Would you be willing to come and work with us? And so far, like I said, like the place, I turned in 8 resumes. I've already gotten a call back from 5 of them. 2 of them said they don't have space right at the moment, but that they want to keep my resume on hold. The other 3, I've got 2 of them, and the other one I'm looking at too, because the schedules are a little bit weird out here. But I've not, in my experience, when I put together a resume, like my resume in particular, when I put it together, I've not failed to get callbacks most of the time. You're going to get some. Don't have a little bit of thick skin, and if you don't get a callback, it's not the end of the world. But you know that you've written a reasonable resume that doesn't tire out the eyes and shows what people want to see when you're getting callbacks. And if you're having trouble getting work, then consider doing a resume. And you can reach out to me, wickedlydivinefeminine@gmail.com. Like I said, I've been doing haircuts and resumes for my family and friends for quite a while. So, I mean, if you want some help in looking at your skills and turning that into an effective resume that you can take in with you when you apply places, or you can send into anywhere that you apply to on Indeed, I'm happy to provide that. I'm happy to help you with that. But until then, I'm going to keep getting ready for work. I'm excited to go, and let me know if any of this information you'd like more details on it, and I'll see you all in the next video.